Earth Day was in 1970 on April 22nd. Well, here we are many years later, and we're recording the WDW Fan Zone show on April 22nd. And tonight, we're going to talk about what you miss when you don't wake up early to get to the parks. Because there's a lot of fun and cool things you can do by taking advantage of early rising on your vacation at Disney World. But before we get into that, Kurt, John, Darlene, Jess, and myself, Stuart, are going to sit back while Jess takes control of the show for the latest Walt Disney World news.
Hello, everybody. Put your seatbelts on because I took control. I'm just kidding. Okay. Anyway, some Hollywood Studios news. The Vacation Fund, an original animated short with Mickey and Minnie, will close from April 29th to May 25th. Beginning May 1st through June 26th, annual pass holders will be able to pick up a new Stitch magnet in Creation Shop in Epcot, and this is part of the VI pass holder days. If you're looking for a good place to eat, Victoria and Albert's in the Grand Floridian received a Michelin star, and that just means that they use top quality ingredients where dishes with distinct flavors are prepared to a consistently high standard. Congratulations, Victoria and Albert's. On Disney Plus, a new Bluey episode called Surprise has debuted yesterday, and I have not seen it yet, but the rumor is people cannot stop talking about it. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. All right. Not quite Walt Disney World news, but over in Paris, Walt Disney Studios park name will be changed to Disney Adventure World when the World of Frozen opens in Disneyland Paris in 2025. Don't forget to check park hours before planning your trip and check them once again once you arrive to see if they've changed, because they do. The Walt Disney World area is expecting mid to high 80s this week, and it's going to be a hot one with nice sunny weather. So enjoy. That's all I have for today.
All right. Thank you, Jess. Another great news report.
Thank you. See you all real soon.
Yep. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Bye,
Thank
Jess.
you. You too. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye. Well, don't the rest of you leave, please, as Jess drops off. We're going to get into
I'll
the show
be
in a moment. I want everybody to please remember to like and subscribe to the show because it does help us out. It helps expose us to more people, whether it's good or bad or not. That's their problem. But, it does give us a little bit of reach, as you know, YouTube and I guess Apple Podcast has algorithms that they use to circulate the shows. So if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, or you're watching us on YouTube TV or anywhere else, not YouTube TV, YouTube, regular YouTube, just please remember to like and subscribe to the show. All right. So, you know, I don't know about you guys, but when my kids were little and we weren't living in Florida and we were coming down here to visit Walt Disney World, we would get up at the crack of dawn, make sure we had our breakfast so we could have a little bit of that morning energy, get over to the bus stop at Disney World and get to one of the parks and take advantage of a full day of fun and festive, not a full day, but take advantage of a day of fun and festivities, taking a break in the middle of the day so we wouldn't have any little tantrums going on because someone was overtired. But there's a lot going on in the morning at Walt Disney World, and I know some of it's changed over the years. But, you know, you miss out a lot. I know a lot of people go to they think Disney vacation is like a cruise where you can just relax, get up early, relax, have a coffee, sit by the pool, and go to the parks later. Well, if you do that, certain things that are going to happen that it might make you think otherwise. And we're going to try to get into that on this show. And Kurt, I'm going to turn it over to you to give your first tip, or whatever else you want to call it, advice on early
I'm going
rise.
to start with the obvious one. So you talked about kids and kids getting cranky. Or kids get really cranky when it gets hot. So the earlier you get there, and they're waking up at 5 o'clock anyways, they're at Disney World. So since they're already up, they're ready to go. If you get there early, it's actually cooler in the morning than it's going to be later in the afternoon. So take advantage of the cooler temp before the sun gets too high up there and get to the park early.
Yep.
I started with an easy one.
Yeah. John.
I'm going to start with a fairly easy one too, but it's not having to wait in as long a line at the entrance to the parks. Once you get the park's been open for an hour or two, everybody's getting there on buses or boats or Ubers or however they're getting there, their own cars. And the lines at those entrances really start to stack up. And I don't know about other people, but that gets irritating to me the longer the lines are at the entrances to the parks.
Yep. Darlene.
So my first few just went out the window. Another thing we like to do when we get up early is it's easier to get a breakfast if you go earlier in the morning than later in the morning before you go to the parks.
Yeah, that's right. Because people tend to get up later, and you're right. And whether it's your resort restaurant serving breakfast, yeah, it can get pretty crowded at times.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm going to add to what John and Kurt were saying a little bit. Get to the park before, and I don't want to say get there an hour early before the park opens, but get there before it opens, maybe a half hour before it opens. You don't have to be the first one in line, but you want to be there so once you get into the park, you can kind of maneuver a little bit better than you would if you got there after the park opens or once the lines get really big. And remember, you have to go through security too. That's another big thing, but I'm sure somebody will have a tip on that. All right, Kurt.
Hey, piggybacking off of John. Now, this is important if you're one of those do or die, open to close, going to be there and hit as much as I can in one day. The earlier you get there, the closer your car is for the parking. So if you have close car for parking, that last exit walk going back out to your car won't feel nearly as far because it won't be.
Yeah, that's true. John.
Well, I think one of the most popular reasons for being there when the park opens is to be able to get some of those big attractions out of the way. And you hear that a lot from any Disney community or Disney fan that talks about being there at park opening. And that is, you can get on the most popular attractions with the shortest waits. And then when everybody fills in, you can start going on to some of the attractions that don't have as long a line anyway. So if you really want to get in on those most popular attractions, and if you want to be able to get more of those most popular attractions, you need to do it early before that bigger wave comes in.
Yeah.
I can give examples of that if you want. So I have friends that just came back, and I want to say with them, they had the early magic entry because they were staying on site. I think they rode Expedition Everest 3 or 4 times, just off, back on, off, back on, off, back on, because everyone was over at Pandora. And the line, I know the last time we were there, we walked over to that line. We said, let's see what it does. And we were literally on the bridge going to Africa thinking, oh, this is going to be an hour and a half wait. We're crazy for doing this. I think it was about a 35 to 45 minute wait because no one had even gone in yet. So then when they actually opened it up, it all just filled in. So even though we seemed like we were really far away, we moved in pretty quickly. So that filled in the queue. So take advantage of those early hours for those big attractions.
Yeah. Darlene.
Again, these lists are very, very close together. Another thing that we like to do in the morning is getting in to see the first stage show and the first happenings on Main Street in Magic Kingdom.
Yeah. Something else when you're coming into the parks, the earlier you get there, getting through security and the line to get into the park will be shorter, but most people tend to go to the right. So rather than following most people going to the right, go to your left. The lines are usually shorter there, so you can get into the park. It might save you a minute or two, but that can make a big difference when you want to get to one of those big attractions that you know is going to get crowded as the day goes on. All right, Kurt.
Yeah, fill in all the available space. And if you see a long line, go to the next line. Whether you're going in the morning and checking in with your Magic Pass your Magic Band, whether you're doing that or whether it is going through security, if there's more than one security person, and they'll always joke around with you saying, "Hey, this guy's feeling lonely over here. Go this way." They'll point you in the correct direction.
Oh, sorry, Kurt. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I'll wait till you're done.
Okay, I was just going to move on from that though. So, just in general, people want to close the park because they want to see the fireworks. They stay later. They do their shopping later. They go back. They don't want to go to sleep. They go swimming. The crowd level is lower. I mean, that's what we keep talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So when there is a lower crowd level, it kind of builds upon what everyone else has already said. You're able to get through the parks easier. You can get through the lines easier. There's an initial surge, but that surge goes so much faster than if you're doing it like an hour later or so, or 2 hours later.
Absolutely. Something I wanted to mention, what you were starting to talk about with, move over if you see a line that's crowded. If you see a family with, and I'm talking not one young child, but 2, 3 young children, and they're fumbling around with things, because I see this all the time, that means they're not prepared to get into the park yet. So they're looking, whether it's their Magic Band, their ticket, their car, whatever it is to give them access to the park, move on to another line. So I just wanted to add that to what Kurt was saying before.
Right. And to go along with that, have your tickets before you get to the parks.
Yep.
If you're buying a ticket at the entrance to the park, you're waiting in a line to buy the ticket and then waiting in the line to go in.
Yeah.
And you'll see so many people that are doing that. You're going to save so much time by having your ticket already.
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Is that your tip?
No, that was just a
Oh, just an add-on. Okay.
Yeah.
You're up, John.
Your
That was
turn.
back to me.
Yeah.
Keeping in the same theme, you have so much more flexibility. So if you get to the park early and you get to see a bunch of attractions, to your point earlier, you mentioned Stuart and Kurt about getting some rest in the middle of the day. You get a chance to see some of the best attractions early, then you have time to relax while everybody else is crowded in lines, and then you can come back more rested for the rest of the day and still have gotten some of those big attractions, and you're not going to be dying at the end of the day, and you just have more flexibility for how you plan your day.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, Darlene.
Another thing, earlier in the day, a lot of times you can find PhotoPass photographers, and you don't mind waiting in those long lines at that time because it's cooler in the morning than it is in the heat of the afternoon, especially when those lines get a lot longer because everybody's piling into the park.
Yeah.
Add on to that, I get so many complaints when in the middle of the day if I say, "Hey, let's take a photo." Well, I always have my hat on, so my hair, what's left of it, it's all undercover anyways. You got that humidity down there; it's nasty. I can't tell you how many times I've had somebody in our party who's male or female going, "Seriously, look at this mess, and we have to take a picture like this." Yes, we do. Bring a hat.
Yeah. Yep. Something that I see all the time when you get into the park first thing in the morning, you see a long line for Starbucks, wherever it's located in the park. My advice to people is if you have to have Starbucks, try to get through the morning a little bit, because by the time you get off that Starbucks line and you're ready to go to an attraction or a show or something, you've blown whatever lead you had getting to the park early in the first place, because more and more people are going to come as the day moves on. If you get there after the park is open an hour, whatever advantage you had by getting there early, whether you have extra, whatever they call it now, early morning access,
Early magic hours.
you've lost it. It's gone. So if you can hold off on your Starbucks addiction, hold off.
Get it on the way in.
No, I'm saying not
before
to
you
get
even
it
get
on
to
the
the
way in.
park. Get it on the way in before you even get to the park.
Right, exactly.
Get up a half hour early, drive the extra little bit, then come back.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
And I'm going to make a plug. And you guys all know I'm a Starbucks girl. But Joffrey's coffee is very good as well. And there is a Joffrey's right outside the monorail station. So if you don't want to wait in that long line and you need your caffeine and you didn't get it at the resort, you can always get it at the Joffrey's.
I'd love Disney to switch over from Starbucks to Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
I would
know
like
it's not
to
going to happen
Hortons,
anytime
but
soon.
I'm just biased.
Yeah. Well, Joffrey's has some great donuts. Oh my!
I know where they get those donuts from.
Oh,
it's a place that is it's here in Florida. It's a local place.
Okay.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yep. So
For
they're not
shipping.
baked there. They're brought in from this place,
Right.
and it's just the lines in this place are always out the door.
Yep.
Um,
Been there.
yeah.
Right.
All right. Who are we up to? Kurt.
It's back to me. Okay. I'm going to pose the same exact question to you locals because you're walking in there more often than I am. And a couple of people might have this. We know they have walk-up reservations again, and I know it's available on the app. The question is, do you have to be in the park for that to make that reservation, or can you do it from here? So like here I am in Illinois. Could I technically just right now open it up and make a reservation, or do I have to be in the park? Because if it's true that you have to be in the park, bam, the earlier that you were there, the more likely you are to get an actual walk-up reservation.
It is. It's when you're in the park.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Well, that's true. I've used this in Epcot to go to Space 220. They have a separate line for a walk-up reservation. If all the reservations are taken, there's nobody there at the beginning of the day. You can be the first in line, and they'll come and they'll make a reservation for you for lunch or for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And you still go off and go about doing your whatever you want to do that morning, but you didn't have a reservation and you were able to get one because you were there early.
Right. That's where I was going with it.
Yeah. And it worked for us. We did that exactly that way. And it didn't take very long to get it done. And we were still able to get ahead of people on a lot of other attractions within Epcot before the crowds came in.
Yeah.
All right. In Space 220, you can only do, because I'm looking at the app right now. Space 220, you can only do it with a walk-up situation.
Yeah, they actually had a desk there.
Right. So it's like St. Angel Inn. They actually have a walk-up list on the app where you can click on it here. However, on the app, they do not have one for Space 220. So you physically have to walk there and do it. I noticed a lot of the dining places, quick service, don't have the app feature anymore. I couldn't, like,
the app,
we're ordering food and stuff.
Mobile order.
Well, you can't mobile order from Illinois if you're not.
Well, no, but I'm looking at it, and there was a lot of places that were not allowing mobile order. There was only like 4 locations in Epcot.
Are you looking at the current time right now?
I was looking at this earlier when the park was actually open.
Wow.
It surprised me because not everywhere was allowing it. It just surprised me because Epcot says it's saying there's only 4 places in Epcot. Connections, Carmel Cruise, Regal Eagle, and Yorkshire were the only 4 that were doing mobile ordering.
Interesting.
unless I'm looking at something wrong.
Well, Magic Kingdom has Casey's Corner, Casa Gray's, Launchpad,
They got 8. Yeah.
Main Street, Pecos Bills, Pinocchio's, Sleepy Hollow, Sunshine Seasons.
So there's a couple there that aren't listed.
Yeah.
So there, in other words, it's not every location.
Yeah, and in Epcot they only have 3. Hollywood has 5. Animal has none.
Correct.
Do you know Hollywood Studios has more restaurants than attractions right now?
Wow.
Isn't that
Actually,
crazy?
I don't know that for a fact.
It's
You can
Wow.
actually
It
just
mobile
seems like
order at 5 locations in Disney Springs too.
Correct. It's on the app. It says exactly how many you can, but
Yeah.
it's not at every location, which surprised me because a few years ago it was at every location. They
Okay,
wanted you to
not to
mobile order.
be not to be the mean one in the group, but how does this affect people coming in first thing in the morning?
I just was stating a fact because we were trying to do the more likely to get a walk-up reservation, and it kind of ties in together.
It does.
So
You're
that's
right.
why.
You're right. You're absolutely right. You have the earlier you get there, the more likely you are to get that walk-up reservation.
Correct. And the earlier you get there to order, the more likely you are to get your food at the time that you want to get your food.
Very true. All right. John.
I think that's me. To connect to some of the things that Darlene said and you said, Stuart, related to pictures. And so you said, Darlene, about getting photo pass, so not having to wait in as long a line. You can get more photo pass photographers, but you also get better pictures because there are going to be less people in the background. Whether you're getting your picture taken in front of the castle and you don't have, usually if you do it during the day, you have to ignore all those people when you look at your pictures. You can have a picture maybe with just you and the castle, or just you and Hollywood Boulevard or whatever. And if you're taking your own pictures, if you're trying to get interesting pictures of the attractions and buildings and backgrounds, your own pictures are going to have less people in them as well. If you get there early enough, you can get pictures without any people in them.
Yep. After 11 a.m., you're almost guaranteed to get photobombed. No, I'm kidding.
No, it's true.
But yeah, your chances are greater.
Middle of the day, you're going to have a ton of balloons in your picture, the real balloons in your picture.
Yeah, that's true. All right, Darlene.
Another thing you want to think about, which we've done too, is if we want to do shopping, like when we would go down, we'd come in and we'd do like a park day. And then if we had an extra day to go, we would go through the stores, because first thing in the morning, the stores are normally fully stocked. By midday, at the end of the day, they might be short on sizes or styles or toys or whatever you want.
Or Funko Pops.
Pardon?
Or Funko Pops.
Or Funko Pops. So if you want something specific, I would go first thing in the morning to do your shopping.
I think Kurt went to get one of his to show what
yes.
he would have missed
And
out
I
if he didn't
pushed
get
it
it first
back
thing in
and
the
I
morning.
can't reach it now.
Oh, all right.
I'd have to go get a stool. Yeah, it's exactly what I was doing. I was going to reach up and grab the Funko Pop that was there at 10 o'clock in the morning. And my wife goes, "Are you really going to get it now? They've got a ton of them there." And the lady behind the counter said, and I went, "Thank you." And sure enough, by noon, they were gone.
Yeah.
And there was easily 200 of them there. They were all over.
Yeah.
If there's something popular, they'll go.
They will. Changing gears just a little bit. Something that we've done first thing in the morning. It's been a long time since we moved down here. We haven't done this, but before we lived down here, we would do this occasionally on a trip, and that's to make an early morning breakfast in the parks at Crystal Palace. Now, yes, you're spending time in a restaurant, so you're losing time on the attractions. But if you've allocated enough time on your trip, there's nothing greater than having a character breakfast in the park and enjoying some really good food. And I highly recommend Crystal Palace. And when you finish, you get to walk it off in the Magic Kingdom and, There's nothing better than that.
Well, and with that, they do early enough, if you can get it, so where you're getting in there and you're out before the park actually opens.
That's true. They do. And I think we did that one year. We were able to get in before the park officially opened. I don't think we got out before the park opened because we took our time eating and eating and eating and eating more. Yeah. Right. Kurt.
I had one and I lost it. I don't know if it was the shopping or if it was photography. It was just building off of everything. All the stuff. There's just not as much going on at that time. Darlene started talking about it, but when you first get into like the Magic Kingdom, the welcome song with the train coming up is before they open.
Mhm.
So that's a beautiful thing. And just everything going on. The carts are running on Main Street USA when they first open.
Yeah.
The trolley or the fire truck, any of those, they're running first thing in the morning. They're not running throughout the middle of the day.
Yep.
That is true.
It's the heat, so they don't want to overheat the horses.
Yep. Yeah. All right, John.
I have another idea about breakfast, and that is if you get to the parks early, you have an opportunity to more enjoy your breakfast because you can relax. So if you make your dining reservation for an hour to 2 hours after the park opens, you get to the park, get on some attractions, know that you got some things done that you really wanted to experience, then go sit down for breakfast and just relax and enjoy yourself instead of rushing to get that Joffrey's donut or, trying to get through this Starbucks line or whatever. So you could either do like you said, Stuart, and get the breakfast reservation before the park opens and then go to the park. Or if that's a little too early, make it a couple of hours after the park opens so you can sit down and relax.
Yeah. And whatever you do, please do not try to sleep at the park overnight. They will not allow it. You don't need to be the first one in. You don't want to be the last one in, but you don't need to be the first one in. All right, Darlene.
Oh, good golly. Meeting up with characters is easier in the morning than it is during the day. If you want that specific time to get a picture with one of the princesses, head over to, Fairy Tale Hall or Tony's Town Square for Mickey Mouse, because later in the day you might have to wait a while in those lines.
Mm-hmm. Oh, me.
That's you.
I know when we've gone to the parks early in the morning, the first thing we want to do is we'll try to do is like in Epcot. What's the furthest attraction from the entrance to the park? Now I know you can get in from international,
Gateway.
The international gateway, and a lot of people do. But what we'll do is we'll head across either to Remy's Ratatouille Adventure or Frozen when the park opens, because we know if we don't get there right away, we're probably not going to get on it that day unless we get Genie Plus. So we'll try to hit one. We'll look at our app, the My Disney Experience app. That's something everyone should download, whether you plan on using it or not. You should have it because you can find useful information on there, like wait times. Instead of searching around or walking to an attraction, go, oh my God, there's a 55-minute wait. If you have the app, you'll know in advance. You can skip it. But first thing in the morning, head to an attraction furthest away from the entrance that, a must-do attraction, I should say. And Magic Kingdom, it might be, what would it be in Tron? Tron's the virtual queue now, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I'm sorry. So not Tron.
So let's say Space Mountain.
Pirates of the Caribbean, Space Mountain,
Haunted
Big
Mansion.
Thunder Mountain, Haunted Mansion.
Right. Whatever one you
talk about the other end of the park.
Yeah. Take your must-do attraction that's on the other end and get there quickly. Race through. And then you can relax. You can take a deep breath. All right, Kurt.
You're right. My son is on our account. I've asked him several times, do you want your own account? We'll just transfer. He's like, no. All he cares about with the app is, number one, looking at the menus. And number two, looking at the lines to see how long the line is. And you do not have to have an account for doing either of those.
Correct.
You can look right in, and then he looks at me and says, order. And then I end up with the bill paying. But you know how that works, Dad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All too well.
To get to the fun, it depends on where you're going to be staying. And so one of the things you gotta think about for these early entries, getting there at rope drop, is how are you getting there to begin with? Because again, if you're staying, we'll say you're staying at Pop Century or Art of Animation, those two they're far off. You gotta go from both of those resorts flow to one. What the heck is it called that goes in the air? Why can't I think of it?
Skyway or Skyliner.
Skyway, thank you. I kept wanting to call it a Segway. So the Skyliner. So both of those resorts feed into the Skyliner, and then you have to go to Caribbean Beach and feed into another Skyliner. So you've got lines at both. So if you've got a half hour to 40-minute line just to get in at the first stop, you're feeding from Riviera and Caribbean Beach and those two to go to Disney Hollywood Studios. So think about that when you're leaving. If you're going to early park entrance, again, anyone at those resorts is also going to early park entry, or could be going, in which case you need to leave about an hour early before the early park. So if it's an 8:30, you got to leave the house. Good. You got to leave your resort by 7:30 just to get there through everything and in by the time that the park's early opening is.
Yeah.
Or
Just
take
be
a
safe.
minivan or a Uber.
Or drive your car.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't have that, which is why I'm bringing this up. So the cost of car rental has gone up. It is not where it used to be.
That is very true.
And if you need to grab your quick breakfast at that stop there at Caribbean Beach, you can grab a donut at Joffrey's
Hey,
at that station.
get a donut, eh?
Hey, I true story. We were up in the Canadian Maritimes years ago to see a hockey game, and at intermission, instead of everybody lining up at the hamburger stands, they lined up at Tim Hortons Donuts.
I love Tim Hortons donuts and coffee. Oh my God. I wish they had that all over the US instead of primarily in Canada. Tim Hortons.
You do know they do, well, you don't drink coffee probably, but they do have Tim Hortons coffee and K-Pods now sold at Publix and Winn-Dixie. And
Yes, I do know that, but it's not the
Target, Walmart.
same as getting the fresh brewed cup at Tim Hortons.
This is true. This is true.
And the donuts are not available, in the stores yet here.
Very true. But if you have a friend that visits Buffalo, they can always bring you bagels and donuts.
That's not well, yeah, but they won't be fresh.
It's not fresh.
Right, it's not fresh. It's just, but it's thoughtful of you. Tim Horton was a pretty darn good hockey player.
Mhm.
Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yep, Toronto Maple Leafs. Ranger nemesis.
Ah,
By the way, good luck to the Rangers in the playoffs. Let's go Rangers and Knicks.
keep Stewart happy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
keep me happy. Keep me happy. The way to keep me happy, keep the Knicks and Rangers and Yankees winning. I'm not going to mention the Jets because
You know that.
if anybody knows anything about football and the Jets, you know why I'm not going to mention anything about the Jets.
No, don't worry, Stuart. We wouldn't mention them. We wouldn't cause you any additional pain from what you already have. There's no way that anybody would mention the Jets on this show.
Thanks. John is holding up a Jet.
That was good.
Yeah. Go into the season with optimism. Go out of the season completely deflated.
That was a good one.
So, moving right along to me. My next one is if you purchased Park Hopper for your tickets, you're going to get the best usage of it and the best value out of your purchase if you take advantage of getting to your first park early, because you'll get to
Mhm.
accomplish a lot in that first park, and you'll be ready earlier to hop to the next park. So again, you went to the bother of purchasing it, get the most value out of your purchase. So we talked
Mhm.
about how
So you can more easily justify the purchase price for the
there you
park
go.
hopper.
Well, you know what? If you're gonna make the investment, if you're gonna pay for it,
Yeah,
get what you paid for.
that's true.
Mhm.
All right, Darlene.
I think I'm tapped out.
Okay, I'm getting there too. I did have one. What the heck was I going to mention? I can't think of it now. Give me a second. I'm having a senior moment here.
Senor, are you having a moment, Senor?
Oh boy, I did have one. Kirk, go on with your next one. We'll come back to me. I have to remember it now.
I'm still working on that.
Oh, okay. So we're getting to the end.
Well,
John.
Yeah, we're running out.
I
Yeah,
can fill in the moment.
sure.
So you had mentioned before about the extra morning magic hours. If
Mhm.
you're not taking advantage of them, you're losing some of the value you got if
Mhm.
you are staying at a Disney resort. So
That's
again,
correct.
if you want to make the most use out of what you've already paid for
Mhm.
and you stayed at a Disney resort, that's a benefit if you're staying at a Disney resort.
Yeah.
Take advantage of it
Well,
while you can.
especially when people complain about the price. Well, we
Right.
got you an extra 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember
And if
what
you
it
have a
was.
deluxe resort, you get extra time at the end.
And a very valuable one from what we've all discussed here so far.
Mhm.
Yeah, I do remember what I wanted to mention. If you're staying off property, even with the best intentions of getting there early, you're subject to traffic on the roads in the Orlando area,
Mm.
which can be treacherous at times, unforgiving at other times, not to mention a parking lot or a death trap. And I mean that literally, a death trap. There's accidents here all the time because people are not used to the roads. They don't drive. And we're not going to mention people that are from Florida that don't know how to drive, but you've got to get through all sorts of obstacles. So leave early, drive cautiously, and get there early and take advantage when you get there early. Kurt, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I actually want to build off of that now because it's a combination of both what you just said and what Darlene had said.
Yep.
Because if you're staying off site, you can still get into the park early because before they release you to where the open area is, they scan your magic band. And if that
Mhm.
doesn't work, you're not going anywhere. So you can take that time to go into those all the shops and find something on Main Street that you're again they just restocked. Find it early, they'll hold it up front for you. So just you can just ask. I think they don't they still hold it up front? They won't ship it back to your
They won't
resort.
ship, right? They'll hold
But
it for you.
they'll
They
hold it
won't
up
ship it.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can get that right away. Then you don't have to drag it around. You just say, "Can you hold this for me, please?"
Mhm.
And then just midday break, pop over there, grab your bag, and you're on your way. But that way you'll get. That's a pet peeve. You'll look at something like, "Where did I see it? Oh, they had it over here. Oh, it's gone now." Oh
Yeah.
well.
Another thing people should think about doing is if, let's say, Epcot has late magic hours on a Monday and you're there on a
Uh-huh.
Tuesday, the best park to go to early in the morning on Tuesday is Epcot because it's going to be empty. And when I say
But
empty, I don't mean empty. It will be less devoid of large crowds at opening.
More
likewise,
More
More
devoid. I'm
devoid.
sorry, more devoid of large crowds. Correct.
Mondays are extra magic hours, like you just said. That park is relatively quiet first thing in the morning because people are saying we have extra magic hours in the
That's true
evening.
too.
Let's not open to close. Let's do it this way. I don't because we take the break in the middle. We will be there at rope drop and then staying later.
We always, if the parks were open late, if let's say in this case Magic Kingdom was going to be up until 1 a.m. on a Sunday, guess what park we were going to on Monday? Magic Kingdom, because we knew people would have spent a lot of time there on Sunday, so they're not likely to be there. The crowds aren't likely to be there that early on Monday. And then if it gets crowded, we take a break in the middle of the day and go back later on or go to another park. All right, John, do you have anything else?
I do have one that we haven't discussed, and that is if you get to the parks early and you see the attractions and the shows that you want to see, even get to one of the restaurants you want for breakfast or whatever, you have more time later in the day to go get to Disney Springs, where you might miss out on Disney Springs if you go to the parks later and you find yourself, oh, I want to get this done, I want to get this done, and you have to wait in too many lines.
Yeah, just getting off top, well, staying on topic, but off topic. My daughter was in town this past weekend, and I never go to Disney Springs unless it's to meet people. And I have nothing against Disney Springs other than the crowds. It just gets too crowded for me. I don't like crowds, especially Disney Springs crowds. It's just overwhelming at times.
Yeah.
So the only time I ever get to go, or will go, is when a family member is in or a friend that's visiting from out of town. And it's usually on a Saturday night, which is probably the worst night to go to Disney Springs.
Oh, yeah, Saturday night.
I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah.
Let's go out to dinner. Fine, we'll go to Disney Springs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so many restaurants to choose from.
Oh God, yeah. What was I going to say now? Oh, nobody mentioned rope drop.
We mentioned rope drop, but
yeah,
you did.
Oh, where were you going with that?
I must have been sleeping.
Oh, okay, you were sleeping while the rope droppers were going.
Yeah, I was talking about the show that happens before rope drop or right at rope drop. Yeah.
I think we've kind of exhausted this then for everybody out there.
I have one last one.
Go ahead.
Wait,
we talked a lot about different things related to pictures. You can get interesting pictures with the sun coming up and streaming through. You can't get at any other time.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about iconic Disney attractions and buildings and locations, if you get there early, and we talked about earlier not having a lot of people there, but you won't be able to get those same views, those same angles, and that same lighting later.
I did. Maybe I'll send it to Stuart and he can post it with the show notes.
Yeah,
sorry,
I would do that. Let's say you have an early pre-park opening reservation at Crystal Palace. Walking down Main Street to go to Crystal Palace, you can get quite a few pictures in without the crowds.
Yes.
That castle is magnificent, by the way.
Yeah.
That's the #1 photographed castle in the world.
Really? Bigger than Buckingham?
Yeah. I've never been to Buckingham.
Neither have I would
at
think
one
that would
point
be
it was the #1. What's that?
I'll be there next month.
There you go. So that was my understanding.
Say hello to the king for us.
I'll tell him you asked about him.
And let me know what Elvis says.
Yeah. Well, we're taking our walk across Abbey Road.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, that'd be fun.
So I'm going to pose a question to everybody out there. Is Elvis really deceased?
Yes.
Of course he. But let's see let's see if any conspiracy theorists come up with anything. I have a tomato, looks just like him. All right. On that note,
conversation about that with somebody recently. This is like deja vu.
Why am I not surprised?
I think it was because we were talking about the Priscilla movie that was just on.
Okay. Anyway, on that sad note, we're gonna get out of here. Not you, darling. Me mentioning Elvis. We're gonna get out of here. We will be back next week with another show. Topic to be determined. And until then, everybody be safe, a great rest of the week. Always be yourself. Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody.
Well, if you get up early enough, you can think to yourself, 7 a.m., the usual morning, line up, start on the chores and sweep till the floors are clean. And yeah, so when will my life begin the next time I get to Walt Disney World, or at least until we come back next week? Have a good one.
Have a magical night. Stay safe. Pack your sunscreen.